The daughter of LaVoy Finicum says her father was murdered execution style with his hands in the air. Which presidential candidates have received megabucks from megabank Goldman Sachs? And how much is Oprah Winfrey worth by the pound? My name is Howard Riell, and this is Riell Truth. You're listening to the American Freedom Network, streaming live around the world at AmericanNewsNet.com and on Facebook and YouTube and Tumblr and in the book Riell Truth Stay Angry. And of course, as always, broadcasting out across the Colorado Front Range on KHNC, Johnstown, Colorado, 1360 AM The Lion. Our call-in number is 877-254-7524. My friends, we begin with a tragedy item from InfoWars. The daughter of LaVoy Finicum, the Oregon militiaman shot dead by police during a traffic stop on Highway 395 yesterday, claims that her father was murdered execution style with his hands in the air, an account backed up by an eyewitness to the incident. Protesters involved in the weeks-long occupation of a federal wildlife refuge in Oregon, including leader Ammon Bundy, were apprehended by law enforcement as they traveled to the city of John Day to attend a community meeting to set up by local residents, unquote. My friends, I'm hearing entirely too many stories about authorities, whether they're city cops, federal cops, anyone in law enforcement, being a little too free with their weapons. You know, the Democrats can't wait to get the guns out of Americans' hands. Well, that just means that the guns will remain in the hands of the government and the criminals. Two categories that are basically the same in many respects, both of which are bad for the American people and the American way of life. Now, I was not a witness to the killing of LaVoy Finicum, but if there are witnesses saying he was murdered with his hands up in the air, I've got to believe it, only because I've heard so many stories like that recently, and so have you. I hope that there will be a full investigation and that we'll find out exactly what happened to these people who, by the way, are standing up to the most pervasive government in the history of the world and are very brave for doing so. Item from Breitbart: the Wall Street megabank Goldman Sachs is a top donor to the 2016 presidential campaigns of establishment candidates Hillary Clinton, Senator Marco Rubio, and Jeb Bush. Goldman Sachs employees have donated a total of $483,500 to Jeb Bush's campaign and a pro-Bush super PAC. They've also given $79,600 to Rubio's campaign and super PAC, according to an analysis of campaign finance records. That makes Goldman Sachs staffers the top Bush and Rubio donors during this election cycle. Hillary Clinton is also getting in on the action with $169,850 in her campaign and PAC donations coming from the bank. Ted Cruz, meanwhile, has mopped up $43,575 from Goldman Sachs this cycle, unquote. My friends, I would never use a word like bribe. And you won't hear the word bribe out of my mouth. But whether it's this bank or other banks or any other major corporations, the special interests own politicians. The special interests own politics, which is to say the special interests own America. They own the levers of power. They own the people who wield the power and who work those levers, and that's why America is very quickly headed down the toilet. That's why the candidacy of a guy named Trump is so important, because he's not taking tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars from special interests, yes, like Goldman Sachs. Now again, I'm not accusing anybody of bribery, but I hear people who do, and I can't fight with them. Item from CNBC.com. Oprah Winfrey just made more news, saying that she lost 26 pounds on her Weight Watchers diet. Even better, her wallet got a lot fatter. That's because Oprah is a board member and large share owner of the company. She's made a fortune since her October investment. Using a price of $13 a share from Tuesday afternoon, that's yesterday, that means she's made $61 million on her total investment. On a per pound basis, that's $2.36 million of profits gained for each pound lost. unquote. My friends, I don't want to talk about Oprah Winfrey's blubber. I want to talk about Oprah Winfrey herself. More specifically, why America appears to be obsessed with Oprah Winfrey. I have heard people out there, and by the way, used to be married to one of them, go on and on about how just wonderful Oprah Winfrey is. They watch her TV shows, they go see her movies, they read her magazine. I don't even know if it's still on the stands. Everything Oprah Winfrey does is news, and people are absolutely fascinated, and I simply don't get it. What is interesting about this woman? When you hear her talk, intellectually, she's a lightweight. She threw in for Barack Obama immediately, only because they're both black. She, like Hillary Clinton, adopts certain accents depending upon which group she's speaking with. Haven't heard her put forth anything of any real value, and so my question remains, what's so special about Oprah Winfrey that America has made her a multi-millionaire? I just don't get it. Item from Robert Spencer via the Washington Free Beacon. The New York Police Department has been directed by a U.S. court to remove from its online records an investigation pertaining to the rise of Islamic extremists in the West and threats these individuals pose to American safety, according to legal documents. As part of a settlement agreement reached earlier this month with Muslim community advocates in U.S. District Court, the NYPD will purge from its website an extensive report that experts say has been critical of the department's understanding of radical Islam and its efforts to police the threat. The court settlement also stipulates NYPD make a concerted effort to mitigate the impact of future terror investigations on certain religious and political groups, according to a copy of the court documents published by the American Civil Liberties Union, which has spearheaded the case since June 2013. Unquote. In other words, my friends, this will be the posture of the New York City Police Department. Are you watching? For my friends on radio, my hands are over my eyes. In other words, it might be Muslim terrorism, but we're not going to say Muslim. We're not going to look at Muslims. We're not going to investigate or surveil Muslims because that wouldn't be politically correct. And so if innocent men, women, and children get beheaded or shot or blown up or burned alive, well, that's okay because that's preferable to being non-PC. And if you want to call that a human sacrifice in the name of political correctness, well, that's exactly what it is. It's Wednesday and it's Riell Truth. I will be right back.
We all know that our government is out of control. More to the point, the people in it. How can we, the people, bring it back to the people's servants, not the people's masters? Liberty Forum and the Freedom Rider said, officials in government must be made accountable for their actions. AccountabilityRevolution.com is the place to go to learn how you can actually make that happen. Become their judges, not their slaves. AccountabilityRevolution.com. Port Collins Radiator Shop reminds us child abuse is one of America's saddest crimes. Child abuse is not just some other family problem. If you or anyone you know needs help, call your local authority. Chris Fezzik from the Friends at Port Collins Radiator Shop, 417 Jefferson Street in Port Collins, serving the community for over 47 years. For all your radiator repairs, call 970-482-6783. On the air for our children.
And of his fullness we have all received, and grace for grace. For the law was given through Moses, but grace and truth came through Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ. No one has seen God at any time. The only begotten Son, who is in the bosom of the Father, he has declared him. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 16. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
welcome back to Riell Truth. I am Howard Riell. You know, I don't want to burden you with my personal problems, but you can relate to this. You know, I'm a journalist for a living. I don't do the radio thing for a living because I don't get paid for doing this radio thing. I'm a journalist, and I sent some questions to a company executive. I said, I'll give you the short version. I said, please tell me ABC. She writes back XYZ. You wonder why I've got gray hair? Anyway, let's get back to business. FBI investigating Hillary Clinton's server. Judge Andrew Napolitano on Fox News, specifically with Sean Hannity, weighing in. Maybe he can tell me, because no one else has been able to answer my question. Why is Hillary Clinton's sorry ass not in a jail cell today? Maybe the judge has some insights. Let's listen.
Welcome back to Hannity. So the FBI is now looking into the security of the private email server that Hillary Clinton used during her tenure as Secretary of State. Now the investigation comes after government watchdogs raised red flags about classified material possibly being shared or stored on her server. Here at the very latest is Ed Henry.
Sean, when your team has to again stress technically you're not under criminal investigation, as Hillary Clinton's allies did today for the second time in 3 weeks, your campaign has hit turbulence. Fox has confirmed the FBI has launched an investigation into the security of her personal server. The Washington Post reporting that includes contact with a tech company that helped manage it. Advisors to Clinton stress she's not the target of a criminal probe, similar to last month when it was revealed two inspectors general had determined there may be hundreds of classified emails in her server. And while it's true this is starting as an investigation of the server, that server, of course, was set up by Clinton. At the least, she will face political fallout from promises she made that have turned out not to be true, such as saying there was no classified information in the server. That has impacted the poll numbers. You can see now in New Hampshire, there's a poll that suggests that Bernie Sanders is only 6 points down from Clinton in New Hampshire, that key first-in-the-nation primary state. The station's polls are declaring it's basically a statistical tie. Clinton's advisors tell me they think the poll shows that actually Sanders is leveling off, and in the end, they're going to win this nomination. Sean?
And thanks, Ed. Joining me now with reaction, Fox News senior judicial analyst, our friend Judge Andrew Napolitano. All right, two inspectors generals, not one, recommend this investigation. Does the FBI do non-criminal investigations?
No, the FBI investigates potential federal crimes or potential exposure for national security, which may be just exactly what Mrs. Clinton did by transferring and moving classified information through a non-classified venue. That's a felony for each piece of information she passed through.
Okay, if you look at how this entire server email system was set up, wasn't it designed to purposefully avoid congressional investigations and subpoenas? Wasn't she thinking that far out ahead?
I think she was not only, you're exactly right, I think she was also thinking about history. I think she wanted to whitewash part of her tenure as Secretary of State, something that the statutes were written to prevent her from doing, unless she broke the statutes by sending all the emails through her server.
Okay, she denied that there were any classified documents on her email system or server.
She cannot deny that any longer.
Well, they only looked at the 40 and they saw 4. So that means that in and of itself, is that not a violation of law, or is it?
It absolutely is, but it's worse than that. I saw emails, not the ones that the inspectors general saw. I saw emails that have been revealed under the Freedom of Information Act, and in them she's discussing the location of French fighter jets during the NATO bombardment of Libya, how big the no-fly zone is, where the no-fly zones are, and are you ready for this? The location of Ambassador Stevens, who of course was murdered, in Libya. If that is not classified, if she didn't think that was classified, she has no business being in public office.
There are 30,000 emails that we're told she deleted, more than she actually saved.
Right.
Then the server was destroyed. I gotta ask, does that now raise questions of possible potential charges of obstruction of justice?
It depends on when the server was destroyed, how it was destroyed, and who destroyed it. But look, the timeline is very perilous for her, because she doesn't even acknowledge that she has these things until after the New York Times report comes out. Then suddenly 33,000 emails are destroyed. They belong to the government. They didn't belong belong to her.
What about the thumb drive that David Kendall, her attorney, has?
He is not authorized to possess that. A, the documents belong to the federal government. B, we know there are documents in there that appear to be classified, and he lacks a classified security clearance. She lacks the classified security clearance. Whoever's running the Clinton server lacks a classified security clearance.
Did you read that the person that put that server up has little experience in terms of security, cybersecurity?
Correct.
So what are the odds that Putin, the Chinese, or somebody else hacked into that server?
Well, we already know that her most frequent emailer, her good friend, nicknamed the Prince of Darkness, Sid Blumenthal, had his emails hacked. And we already know that she emailed with Mr. Blumenthal more than anybody else.
All right.
So the chances of bad guys having her confidential classified emails are pretty high.
Judge, compare this to the David Petraeus case.
General Petraeus was indicted for securing in an unlocked drawer in a desk in the study of his house confidential materials. Do you know what they consisted of? His daily calendars for the year and a half he was running.
And he really went to jail and paid a massive fine.
Correct. And he was the victim of an FBI raid pursuant to a search warrant, a lawful raid.
Then why aren't they raiding Hillary's Chappaqua home?
That is what FBI agents and members of the intelligence community have been asking for the past 3 weeks. No answer yet.
Do you think we might come on Fox News Alert? Hillary's home has been raided?
Only if the president personally authorizes it.
That'll never happen. Not this president.
I agree with you. I agree with you. And I think
if I did this, would you? I'd need a cake with a file in it, right?
Yes. Any judge.
Yes. Hannity would need a cake and a file. Hillary gets off.
Sean, any judge on the basis of the evidence we've discussed would have signed a search warrant if the FBI came to that judge with an application for one.
Do you think the odds are she's going to get caught? That there's too many moving pieces here?
And it's interesting. I know you interviewed the Donald on your show today, and of course we're all going to be watching everything tomorrow night. He predicted she's going to get caught. I think he's right.
I agree. I think so.
It may not be the FBI, it may not be the president, it may be public opinion.
I may go to Russia and have a discussion with Vladimir and offer him a lot of money for the copy of the server that he has.
He probably has it.
Some of the Chinese. All right, Judge. Coming up, I need your help.
My friends, the best thing that could happen to America, in my humble opinion, would be for Hillary Clinton to go to jail. Why? For a couple of reasons. First of all, it might just prevent us from getting saddled with her as president, God help us. Number two, it would send a message to people who need a message. And I need a message. I need to know that there's one system of justice in this country. That there aren't people here who can do the most outrageously illegal things and skate through unscathed. I need to know that because I did not learn that with Richard Nixon and Gerald Ford. I don't know how many of you out there are old enough to remember this. I remember it. Richard Nixon should have gone to jail. Gerald Ford pardoned him instead. And it's rankled me and a whole bunch of people who are smarter than I am ever since. I would hate to see Hillary Clinton escape justice. If indeed she's guilty, all the legalities, I'm not saying she's guilty, I have no proof. But my intuition tells me she's guilty. And just on a personal note, I'd like to see her go to jail because I like to giggle now and again also. Item from the Hollywood Reporter. A look at donations by the Hollywood Reporter's Power 100 list reveals scant support for Hillary Clinton. Says one industry deal maker, quote, "We all want a woman to be president. Some of us just wish it were someone else." Unquote. My friends, that's a short little slice of the article, but it's very, very interesting. Here's why. Yes, I'd like to see Hillary Clinton go to jail. But here, these powerful people in Hollywood are saying, yeah, we all want a woman to be president. Why? Why? Shouldn't we want to see the most capable individual become president regardless of gender? Shouldn't we want the best person for the job to become president? Well, maybe that's yesterday's thinking, because in America today, doesn't matter how smart you are or how capable you are. What matters is your genitalia, your skin color, this, that. I mean, just look at the Oscars. The Oscar people put forward the candidates they think were the best. Not good enough because the skin color is wrong. I had hoped that America had grown up beyond caring about the color of a person's skin. Well, I guess I'm living behind the times. And if I am, I want to stay back there. Item from TMJ4.com, Dateline Milwaukee. The FBI has arrested a Milwaukee man they say was planning a mass shooting in a local Masonic temple, according to a press release issued Tuesday. 23-year-old Sami Mohammed Hamza has been charged with possessing machine guns and a silencer. Documents released by the FBI show that Hamza originally wanted to plan a shooting in the West Bank, but refocused his efforts on Milwaukee due to logistical and financial issues, unquote. My friends, doesn't it suck when you want to murder people in the Middle East and you can't afford to get there, so you have to go to Plan B and murder people in Wisconsin? That's always bothered me, hasn't it? Just one detail I will point out. Sami Mohammed Hamza sounds an awful lot to me like a Muslim name. Now, I don't know a thing about the guy. Haven't seen his records. I'm not privy to the police records in Milwaukee. But here's my bet. I'm willing to bet that Sami Mohammed Hamza is not tied to any terrorist organization, never committed an act of terror. He's a moderate, law-abiding Muslim who happens to live in Wisconsin and who, by the way, amassed an amazing number of weapons so that he could murder people. Innocent Muslim guy. Maybe he even pays taxes. Maybe he even pets his dog. And he wants to murder people. So tell me something. All the people out there who say, look, Muslims, not all Muslims are bad. There are a lot of them who are fine, upstanding people. And I'll say, yes, they are. Of course they are. Until fine, upstanding people decide to murder. How many Muslim atrocities could be committed in America if there were no Muslims in America? Item from CBSNews.com. A handful of industries are those love-to-hate types of businesses, such as cable television companies and internet service providers. The federal government has joined the ranks of the bottom-of-the-barrel industries, according to a new survey from the American Customer Satisfaction Index. Americans' satisfaction level in dealing with federal agencies, everything from Treasury to Homeland Security, has fallen for a third consecutive year, reaching an 8-year low, unquote. Which means that, my friends, that what was already the most bloated, inept bureaucracy in the history of this galaxy has only gotten worse over the last 8 years. So before you support a candidate who wants bigger government, well, slap yourself in the head and get smarter. Item from CBS San Francisco. Don't be too alarmed if you see U.S. military fighter jets or helicopters flying overhead in the San Francisco Bay Area during Super Bowl 50. Should there be significant impact on ground transportation on Super Bowl Sunday, helicopter transportation may be the only means to get the NFL teams to and from Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara. In recent months, federal, state, and local canine teams have conducted helicopter training at Coast Guard Air Station San Francisco in preparation for the big game. One of the first steps in providing security for the Super Bowl is getting the dogs familiarized with the helicopter's noise vibrations and seeing how they behave around it, says U.S. Park Police Officer Neil Wu. It's better to find out how the dogs handle it now than later, unquote. My friends, all this protection, federal, state, local, canine, helicopters, all of it is to prevent the unthinkable, an Islamic jihad attack. And so again, I got to ask you, how many Islamic jihad attacks would there be at the Super Bowl if there were no Muslims in America? What's that number? Item from CounterCurrentNews.com. An Oregon State police officer has just been convicted of hitting a stopped motorcyclist with his police cruiser, then getting out of the car and kicking the confused man so hard in the chest that his collarbone and ribs were broken. The victim ended up needing a metal plate and screws to repair his shattered bones, unquote. My friends, just by coincidence, I saw this video on YouTube yesterday. I urge you to look for it and to watch it. It's an outrageous example of how police don't give a rat's ass about anybody anymore. We'll be back.
Howdy, folks. Have you ever thought about having your own backyard chickens? Now you have a source for certified organic, no GMO, no soy chicken feed. HappyHens.biz can even deliver, or you can pick up. Call me.
The three-term mayor of the nation's largest city has been fighting to make New York safer, skinnier, and healthier, whether we want to be or not. On tonight's show, some great guests are set to debate Bloomberg initiatives rank.
Tuesday night. Let's get right into it with Ann Coulter. Of course, she's a syndicated columnist and best-selling author. Her latest book, Adios America, which we're going to get into in just 1 minute. But first, we're going to talk about the Confederate flag and whether or not it is a symbol of hate. And welcome. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Your maiden voyage. You could make it. And before we dive into the delicious and inviting pool that is you, what do you think of the Confederate flag? I mean, obviously, it is.
We will not leave these 11 million.
Hey guys, so we wanted to try something new this week. You know, one of the main comments we get on the channel is that you guys want more of me, apparently. You want more opinion or something. You want me to be...
No one is biologically predisposed. Yes. Most immigrants are not terrorists, not criminals.
The Fusion Network, Ramos' show, and she had some interesting comments. Let's think about it.
Yep. And welcome to Hannity, and tonight the Iowa caucuses are only 11 days away. In 26, Donald Trump continues to top his Republican rivals. In a brand new Monmouth University national poll, Trump leads with 36%. Senator Ted Cruz is second. He has 17%. Senator Marco Rubio in third with...
Secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the places to be searched and the persons or things to be seized.
Guys, welcome back to Riell Truth. Howard Riell. You know, one of my colleagues in the conservative talk show host biz is Mark Levin. He's a brilliant guy. I respect the heck out of him. And before I go to Mark Levin, I think we've got a call. Call, are you there?
Yes. Let me turn this off.
Tell me your name, first of all.
Myra.
Myra, welcome to the show. What can I do you for?
Well, I wanted to praise you for what you did with teaching about the Muslims.
Thank you.
Really teach.
Thank you.
What they really are. I think Riell Truth is what's going to help this nation more than any other thing. When people in a culture of deceit, who was it who said, in a culture of deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act.
Who was it? A famous person said that. Who was that?
I can't remember the name.
It doesn't matter. Okay, well, thank you for the compliment. Please continue. I'll take every compliment I can get.
And one other thing, I wonder if we can apply that same principle to the situation in Oregon.
Well, it sure does. It sure does. You know, Myra, I remember a long time ago, a couple of years ago, reading about how much land in America the federal government owns. Now, the federal government's not supposed to own land, maybe a national park here and there. And I forget the exact percentage, but I remember being knocked out of my seat when I saw exactly how much land the government has claimed for its own. And they trod all over our rights, and I think this is a case of that happening. Do you agree? Right. Well, I agree with you. I'm betting that I probably feel this. Well, Myra, I like what you're saying, and like yourself, I respect Sheriff Arpaio there in Maricopa County. I just saw him on TV yesterday. He threw his support behind Donald Trump. And I agree with you. A lot of people have to look at what happened in Oregon and have to investigate it. And if laws were broken, and as an outsider, it seems to me like there's no reason for this guy to have been shot, then justice has to be served. You would agree? Well, Myra, I appreciate you listening, and thank you very much for the kind words. Thanks for calling in. All right, have a great day. Thanks very much to Myra. Folks, let's go on with the news, because the news doesn't stop. Item from USA Today. The U.S. has a confused consumer epidemic. More shoppers are seeking foods labeled natural, despite not fully understanding what the claim means. The percentage of people who regularly buy food labeled natural has grown from 59% in 2014 to 62% in 2015. Yet confusion abounds, according to research out Wednesday, that's today, from Consumer Reports. The study shows the majority of people don't know what they're paying for when it comes to natural labels. At the same time, pressure is mounting to define a term that's never been legally regulated. At least 60% of people believe a natural label means packaged and processed foods have no genetically modified organisms, no artificial ingredients or colors, no chemicals and no pesticides, according to a study by Consumer Reports. And 45% think that natural is a verified claim. It's not. Unquote. My friends, we live in a time when more information is available to us at our fingertips than ever before in human history. So do this. Rather than looking for the word natural, which, as I just read, means absolutely nothing. Anybody can put the word natural on any slop that they want to sell you. Go online, research exactly what the law is and exactly what the word natural must mean on a label. Check it out. Use the internet. Learn. Don't be so quick to buy any old product simply because it's got the word natural, because you might be fooling yourself and harming your health in the same moment. Item from Fox News. A Massachusetts school district has apologized to parents after a group of school children participated in midday Muslim prayers during a field trip to a Boston area mosque. The incident occurred in May when a social studies class from Wellesley Middle School toured the Islamic Society of Boston Cultural Center, one of the largest mosques in the Northeast. Parents were told their children would be learning about the architecture of a mosque and they'd be allowed to observe a prayer service. But the students wound up being given a lecture on the Prophet Muhammad, and some boys participated in a midday prayer service. The field trip was videotaped by a parent whose child was on the trip. At one point, the video shows a spokeswoman for the mosque telling students, quote, "You have to believe in Allah, and Allah is the one God, the only one worthy of worship, all forgiving, all merciful," unquote. My friends, the people who run the Wellesley Middle School are all stupid, all ignorant, all naive, and should all get kicks in the ass. By the way, instead of stupidly taking students to mosques, what do you say we make a better decision? What do you say we close the mosques? Item from the Economic Collapse blog. If there's one thing Americans can agree on these days, it's the fact that most of us don't like the government. CBS News has just released an article entitled "Americans Hate the U.S. Government More Than Ever," and an average of recent surveys calculated by Real Clear Politics found that 63% of all Americans believe the country's heading in the wrong direction. Only 28% of all Americans believe the country's heading in the right direction. In just a few days, the first real ballots of the 2016 election will be cast in Iowa. And up to this point, the big story of the cycle has been the rise of outsider candidates that many of the pundits have assumed would never have a legitimate chance. Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, Bernie Sanders have all been beneficiaries of the overwhelming disgust that the American people feel regarding what's been going on in Washington, unquote. My friends, I think disgust is a very apt word. We'll take a break. More truth to come.